panelists know that I'm going to try and keep everything as brief as possible. So the first question is to both of you. Victor, you have the mic, so you go first, and then you pass it on to Dolapo. Where do you believe Nigeria currently stands when it comes to media representation of persons with disabilities? When we talk about from the awareness stage, visibility stage, inclusion stage, or tokenism?
I believe Nigeria is still at the awareness stage because very many people are not aware. When you have interactions with people, um, you get to hear, I never knew this, or it's always a shock, and we've been hearing, let's move away from awareness, but it's still that teething stage. That's where I'll put it.
Okay.
Let's not be in a hurry to move from that awareness stage. Let's finish that job, then we'll take a step further.
All right. Thank you very much. Dolapo, the mic is coming towards you. Touch your chair. Fantastic. All right.
Okay, so I will build on what Victor has said. While awareness is going on, I think those who are ready to move on to the next step should please just do so while we are creating awareness in other spaces. So there will always be space for awareness and deepening of whatever that awareness is. But I would like to say that we're more at tokenism, in my opinion.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this is, number one, we have media houses, we have spaces where we have sign language interpreters, for example. But who knew that the interpretation that is happening might not mean anything to every deaf person, for example? And the fact that captions or transcription is more universal than the signing, because sign language is not, well, American Sign Language is universal, but who knows if the audience can take that? So you want people with visible impairments, like someone to look at me, unless you know me, you would need to guess what my impairment is. Must you have a wheelchair, a person using a wheelchair in a space? Must it be a person with albinism? And then they even argue with you that albinism is not an impairment, even though there are considerations required. And then you see people say that, oh, we're inclusive. I mean, and they point to one person, but that one person knows their place and is not allowed to fully participate. So I think the tokenism, for those who have gone beyond awareness, they're firmly at tokenism. And then, of course, there's always room to become aware.
Thank you very much for that. A round of applause for the two panelists. So Victor leans towards awareness. Dolapo has stated that tokenism, and for many people who don't know what tokenism is the practice of making only a symbolic effort, when things are done on the surface with no depth. Dolapo, since the mic is still with you, what does responsible storytelling look like when one is developing and designing disability-related content that promotes dignity, agency, and identity?
The first thing that it looks like is to tell the story through the voice of the owner of the story. Sometimes you would see, can we first define that media, depending on who's looking at it, as I was discussing with you, Kemi, yesterday.
Yes.
For a Gen Z, what is media is online. For a baby bloomer, what is media is the newspaper and their TV to a Nigerian station. For Gen X, Gen Y, it's possibly a digital portal or YouTube or something. So media is different from whoever is seeing it, but one thing is common across all these spaces. For the correspondent who's putting out that media content, are you expressing that person in their own words? Then by the time we even look at the audience, do you take in that information you're getting from the context of the owner of the situation? So many things are situational, that it's not the way you would see it, does not mean that it's not that person's reality.
Down disability inclusive development.
The perceptions are, labeling as insignificant, burdensome, unproductive, incapacitated, not having the capability to deliver. Look, the media is what we see, what we hear to gather information, and what people see and hear, would form their opinion. The media decides what dominates the space of discussion. Employers are watching. You go and get a job and you're rejected because your employer has actually watched something or read something in the media that has portrayed persons with disability
Certain light.
in a certain way.
Mm.
And it's pretty difficult to break, to work on a mindset. And then also it also it also shapes, complexes, inferiority complex as well. um this is what the media does. And also because it's the media also is silent on so many issues.
Okay.
Where it is supposed to speak
Mm.
or write, it doesn't.
Mm.
And where there's silence, the culture of misinformation, the culture of stereotypes abound. You know, social exclusion is there. You want to get married, your partner takes you to their parents because of what they've seen and heard and read. They don't want you.
Mm.
In some cultures, they tell you, oh, the first child of the family cannot get married to a person with disability because what can he do? How can he do what you're saying he can do or she can do? So that's storytelling
Yeah.
that we've been talking about all day. As simple as it might sound, it goes a long way. Reporting goes a long way. How do you report?
Mm.
You report, the person as a victim. You base a report on the person as a hero. Oh, at last, despite his blindness, at last, despite you know, being on a wheelchair. This no, focus
The value.
on the values. Yes, focus on the values. These are the things that slow the progress of inclusion development.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victor. A round of applause if you want to clap. There's something he said where he said media decides what dominates. Dolapo, he's giving you the microphone. Yeah, thank you. And this is so true. You remember for uh, instances where suddenly maybe you see a red car and everywhere you drive, you just start seeing a red car for people who may not have visual impairment, right? And because that is what has been reiterated, especially when the media preaches that, so to speak. Dolapo, um, I'm sure I mean, I love technology when we talk about technology. And for us at TVC, more recently, we launched AI anchors. So it's a big deal. We're now talking about artificial intelligence, having, artificial intelligence conversations, people who are not reading the news themselves, but AI anchors and all of that. I also remember when I met you the first time and engaged with you, I came back to you to ask how you were able to navigate with technology because I'll send her WhatsApp chats. She's responding with emojis and all of that. And for me, I needed to understand, and Dolapo was gracious. She sent this beautiful voice note explaining in detail, right? What role then can technology, AI, assistive, tools play in enabling inclusive content creation? Dolapo.
Thank you, Kemi. And thank you for asking. It's always good to have healthy curiosity. And I assure you, all persons with disabilities, once they feel the energy is right
Mm.
about why you're asking, we always explain, we always
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of us. So, the role of technology. So, even as you hear assistive devices, they support us to surmount whatever barrier that impairment brings. Assistive devices are just anything that supports a specific impairment to participate better, remove some, if not all, the barriers. And I keep telling young persons with disability, or any person with an impairment that I meet, that this is the best time ever to be a person with an impairment because we're surrounded by options that we can use to support us to fully participate, to earn, to socialize, to create organizations, whatever. We're spoilt for choice today if we are also ready to make the effort. Where technology continues to support is, for example, those removal of barriers. And if you are valuable and you're bringing something forward, technology can support you to be at par with your contemporaries. But what are also the risks? Technology could also reinforce exclusion. It could also reinforce bias. So, do you want to imagine that there's a maybe the content for the newsreel?
Yeah.
If it's a human being reading, if something is wrong or a bit inappropriate, the person could pause and just course correct, maybe. But the AI will read it as is. And we're also talking about the fact that even the language models that artificial intelligence is pulling from, we're doing a lot of work in the background to make sure that it's not reinforcing stereotypes. For example, if you should ask AI today, show me, we're putting together a newscast, we want to have an avatar in place. Show a successful, dynamic, vibrant young lady to be our AI avatar to newscast today.
Yeah.
The topic is around impairments. The possibility that it's going to be a person with disability is low,
Mm.
just based on how the LLMs are
Are
skewed today. So again, a lot of the technology which feeds from people's work, because again it's human beings intelligence that has been put, but it's pulling across a very big pool. So what you find out is that if the data you're pulling from is data that is skewed to we need to help them, then them, meaning my community, we're not selected to be part of who should participate. That's already exclusion organically. So reinforcing exclusions could be a risk, but enabling removing of barriers is the bigger game.
Okay.
So the technology will always be the bigger game. And then we, the community of persons with disabilities, we the users, we the testers, continuous feedback will support to refine technology to serve us better.
Fantastic. Well done, Dolapo. But I'll stay with you. Don't yet give Victor the microphone. Just to help my two panelists. You have a third of the room facing us. You know, they're sitting.
Oh.
I didn't describe the audience to two of you. A third of the room, in fact, chunky number, and they're all wearing headsets colored red. That's the headset. So you can clap so that they can hear us clap.
Oh, thank you for
Thank
being
you, sir.
here. Thank
Still with you, Dolapo. You know, because remember when I started, I mentioned how, and even in this room, I've seen a lot of instances where some of the cameramen are just almost bumping into some of us, you know, bumping into you, shouting into your ear, not being conscious of your, you know, the environment or understanding of the different impairments here. While we're talking about media, how can everyday Nigerians, and you have also shared, you know, some specific examples with people even putting things in front of you just to see you fall. I found that quite shocking, but it's the reality. So, how can everyday Nigerians, not just media professionals, contribute to shaping better disability narratives?
Thank you, Kemi. That's a really good question. And for those who don't know me, I actually identify as a blind woman. So I might not look it. So I confuse people a lot. So people typically interact with me like they believe I see them, and it's not the case. And when I explain that, oh, I actually have this, they don't believe me most of the time because they think I'm trying to prank them. So what about accepting us as we are? We're having the conversation around, oh, maybe if I was wearing dark glasses and became Stevie Wondress, maybe people might believe me. But I'm like, oh, but this way the glasses on my nose at the point of me losing my sight due to glaucoma. So I keep it on so that I can tell the story of the fact that I'd been around eye care professionals, but I still lost my sight because nobody was taking my eye pressures. But take us as we are. If we say we need this kind of support, trust us, please, because it's not easy for a person with an impairment to step up. We have to have our bath coming from home, going to a specific place to offer value, to get value, to come to socialize, to interact appropriately, to strike out, knowing how we are, stepping out to go, whatever the goal is for that movement, leaving home. So when you see us show up in places, please trust us when we hold that conversation with you. Say this is what we're looking for. Say these are the services we do. Employ us, speak to us, engage with us, trust us. Is there abuse though? Yes. And I'll be the first to say it. But again, it's also the more of us with impairments that show up appropriately, especially in areas where we feel safe, because some spaces do say that we are welcome, right?
Yeah.
Let's max out where we're welcome. For those who have the vibe to go and shake tables where we're not welcome, enjoy. But for whatever it is, let's be appropriate everywhere we are. And then for the everyday person, if you even just think about it, think about school, think about on your street, there are persons with impairments everywhere around you. If you are empathetic and you feel motivated to support us as we navigate life, because we're the ones in the shoes. If you feel motivated to support us, ask us, and then talk to us that will tell you what we need. And if you feel you're in the category of people who are who are you, God says, what's your type looking for here? Then don't block us because we're moving anyway.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Yes, passing it on to Victor. While you were saying asphalt, I remembered I saw a video just yesterday where a lady who makes use of a wheelchair had pulled herself off the stairs with a wheelchair and sat on the wheelchair. And then this looked at about 6 stairs, top of the stairs, and just said, she needs help. So they just carried her from the top of the stairs and brought her down without even asking, first of all, to say, do you need help? How can we help you? So it's very important to ask. If you also heard my story when I met the rapper, I was curious. I wanted to know, how. Don't just assume, don't jump to conclusions. Ask questions. Victor, remember you mentioned that the media dominates, and the media dominates what is shared, what information is shared. How then can media shift from you know sympathy-based narrative to development to value? I'm sure most of you have heard value here a lot, and contribution.
Training is very important. What you don't know, you don't know. Um, media organizations should have this as a topmost priority. Work with PWD experts. They know. So with the expertise and with the creativity of the media persons, they can go a long way. To write stories properly, to report properly. I won't be tired of emphasizing on that because this is what people digest. This is what people see every day, and this is what they believe in. Okay, so that's just it.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you. So, still, since I'm still with you, let's go to an area that we're both familiar with. In our space, you hear the likes of NBC being the ones guiding the content that we share. So, what policy frameworks? Because a lot of times we talk about policy, but we need to move from policy to practice. What policy frameworks or incentives can NBC, NCC, or even the federal government, do to encourage disability-friendly programming?
Firstly, the policy of inclusion is there. When you get your license, you agree to implement that. And how many stations do that? NBC would fine you for playing a band song.
Yeah.
They would fine you for maybe a commercial that wasn't meant to play
That particular belt.
Yeah, exactly. But I've never heard of a fine or slammed on any media outfit for not following up on an inclusion policy. So what's that about? Penalties have to be meted out, but I wouldn't want us to hold that line yet. let's give media organizations the benefit of the doubt to say, okay, you can actually do this. There are incentives. You can benefit from these incentives. Um, is it the speedy renewal of your license? It takes about 6 months to get your license renewed, but it could be an incentive to speed up your renewal, which would take you between 1 or 3 months. That's one. And there could be a reduction in your license fee.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want goodies?
Exactly.
You could do a lot with that money for your logistics, for your other operations. And then you have tax breaks.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have been implementing your inclusion policy, it means that you've done it at a cost. And they recognize this. The NBC does recognize that. And will say, okay, if you have, if you're to pay 1 million, they could, chalk off 200K.
Yeah.
And then you pay 800,000. And then you have the tax rebate as well. And then, well, as a result of you being inclusive, with your tools of accessibility, captions, subtitles, transcription, and all that for the blind and the deaf. What you do is you boost your audience.
Yeah.
You expand your market.
Yeah.
We're talking yesterday, and I was talking about the numbers. I've heard lots of figures today, 29 million, 30 million, in the millions.
Yeah.
Everybody's crying out for the numbers. They celebrate that we have 1.5 million viewers for a particular program, and it's celebrated.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's for the millions of PWDs?
PWD. Yeah.
You can actually get 1 or 2 million from that. No?
Yeah.
That would help you. That would indeed help you. And then there's NCC as well. Of course, the same thing. Fines, penalties for telcos who fail to meet up with their policy of inclusion. But of course, the incentives are there as well.
Yeah.
The benefits are there as well. So both the carrot and the stick
Approach.
will be shown, to the media outfits. And then the federal government is there. It has empowered the National Commission for Persons with Disability, to act. And it can push these two, the NBC and the NCC, to do the needful.
All right. Thank you so much, Victor. A round of applause for Victor. You hear from his feedback. We are in that space, and we always get sanctions. The mic is coming to you, Dolapo. Yeah, sanctions. So we need to move from just sanctions to incentives, and there are already policies around this. So it's just to ensure that there is the intentionality, as it were, in driving through and ensuring that we tap into that huge number of PWDs. Dolapo, you do a lot of training. We discuss this every time. You've even mentioned it earlier today. Do Nigerian media professionals need specialized training to be able to report on disability or create disability themed content responsibly? And who actually should lead that training?
So, for trainings around disability centric appropriateness, because again, it's about giving framework to media practitioners to operate with, because again, your actual contents are the happenings, the organic happenings. So if you have the right framework, then you'll be able to contextualize and do your reportage appropriately per media platform or type that you do. Who should lead these? So there are more and more. We're having professionals in the disability community who shape how narratives should be discussed. Healthy narratives because you also have persons with disabilities who are reinforcing inappropriate narratives. There are many, for those who would watch skits and things like that, there are many skits involving community members with dwarfism, community members with albinism, across the entire spectrum of persons with disabilities, where even our community people do not even realize how they are reinforcing negative stereotypes. So, but the onus remains on the media house to have the appropriate professional to look into what is the goal, what is the big picture of what the media operations was to achieve, the appropriate framework that gives both the constraints, the guardrails, as well as the flexibility to be creative. Because again, there's no one size fits all, right?
Yeah.
Reportage should be spontaneous. It should edify the situation. It should be representative. It should not be scripted, and we're not, but
Regimented.
yes, there's a way if it's stiff, we know that this is not. So, but how do we make sure people have the right framework, that they are guarded appropriately, but still have the flexibility to be fully creative? You have the right professionals that do things like that. So use the right professional to equip your team.
Yeah.
Then make sure the appropriate mindset is there amongst the colleagues to do the right thing. Then management. If management is not explicit about saying that as a strategy, this is what we want to identify with, and we have a zero tolerance policy for anyone who goes against this, then it will shape that healthy space to learn appropriately, and then do the work you need to do, and refresher trainings, and that will build the capacity. And you can imagine, capacity built in house will still spread, because as you interact, as you do normal life outside work, those are champions all over the place. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dolapo. And it's good that you you can clap if you want to. I hope I didn't interrupt your clapping. You mentioning management in any organization, any institution is key, because it comes from the top. Whatever posture, whatever sensitization, people mirror the leaders that they have. So since the mic is still with you, because I'm conscious of time, I want you to, as someone on the outside in terms of media, when I talk about media, whether it's traditional, print, TV, social media, and all of that, like you rightfully pointed out, if you could propose one actionable commitment that a media organization like ours at TVC Communications, right, should adopt immediately, what would it be?
I would advocate for responsible reporting. Do no harm. There's still, whether we like it or not, we're still in a space, in a country, in environments where disability inclusion is still tough. Many people still struggle to allow us to be, to allow us to participate, to allow us to grow. Even if I should hire a person, if I have my organization and I hire a person without a disability to work with me, and their parents become aware that that's where you are working, unless you are one international or multinational brand, they'll say, see person work with, except a blind person, they work with your mates. That's not why we spent money on you to go to school, please. Is it that you fall in love? You're my very good friend. So I'm using myself as an example, not because this really happened, but my very good friends like, Dolako, don't worry, someone's going to fall in love with you. You're so amazing. And I'm like, I think I like your brother. And the person says, God forbid. So the thing is, the responsibility to understand that we're flesh too. We hurt too. If you're going to report about us, put us in good light. We might not be in the frame of mind to do it. But you, media practitioners, you, social media trender, what's that thing? Influencer, these people. Be human first. Be respectful first. Be empathetic first. And then, a time will come that responsible reportage will be just as viral. It doesn't have to be ugly for us, especially the Nigerian market, to consume it. Do better at that. And we will thank you for it.
Fantastic, Dolapo. Round of applause for those beautiful comments. Responsible reporting, respectful reporting. We're also talking about being kind as people, and we're finding this is even across. Nigerians need to do better. we need to be empathetic, we need to be considerate, and most importantly, intentional. As we round up, Victor, if you look ahead 12 months from now, that is December 2026, we're already in December, and I usually joke that when you start December, it's like it's a race to the end. What practical step must Nigerian media take to move disability inclusion from just attention to formal integration?
We need to think seriously about enforcement, because there's no point having all these policies and they are not enforced. So we talked about penalties the other time, but then you have all these bodies. Come around and see what the media organizations are doing, what they have done, and then what they can actually do further. KPIs should be affected to track progress. Okay, so you have the news department, you have the presentation department. How can they? What percentage of their stories should cover PWDs or PWD inclusion? Okay, so you look at the year and see how much of that target you have met, how much of that target you've met, and then also, yes, it is happening here. Collaboration, but more collaboration is needed. Media organizations coming together, pulling their resources together, um, funds, technology, and so on.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say any media organization can do it alone. No, let's come together and get this job done.
Yeah.
It's a cause we have to um, fight for, and we can actually make it work. I've been talking about storytelling all day, and I don't know if we have any Nollywood representation here. They need to be listening. They need to hear these things and have in previous sessions we hopefully they'll be invited to hear and see what they can implement. That would cover so much ground.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Victor. Nollywood representation, collaboration across media houses. Well done to Dolapo. Well done to Victor. I don't know if the audience have questions. We can take, say, two questions. We've done well with time before we round off and go. All right. So my newest friend with the yellow flower in her hair would like to speak. Microphone to her. Okay. Do you need mine?
Yes, good afternoon. I wanted to find out how can we accurately represent persons with disabilities in the media? How do we go about that?
So your question basically is how can we have persons living with persons with disabilities represented in the media? Let me have Dolapo attempt that question. Victor, please pass the mic to Dolapo. Careful. All right.
Okay, so again, like I said earlier, and thank you for the question. Number one, media practitioners should have the framework of what is respectful language, appropriate representation. Then, number two, you are reporting situational things. So, if it's around a person with dwarfism, for example, oh, this is the appropriate languaging and maybe set up to use to respectfully depict them. So that learning needs to be in place because there's no script, right? There are all types of impairments with their spectrum of what they are.
Yeah.
So it's more about having that framework of you're working with a blind or visually impaired person. This is the appropriate way. This is the appropriate language. But
Language, yes.
typically, you are telling a story. That story, we don't know what it is. But if you can just be appropriate with the person and you are conscious of respectful projecting of that person's issues or stories, then you are already on your way to doing it the right way.
Fantastic.
But I think I might do an article on something light that would be useful. It would be nice to collaborate, Kemi, on this
Yeah.
to do more.
Yeah, yeah. I think Victor wants to weigh in. Yeah.
So let me just add that so this is why we have the various organizations for persons with disability, and then the um, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. So you can actually verify from these, from the commission and the organizations, and then there's the Disabilities Act 2018. You can also refer to that as well, and also get to relate with PWDs. You can get firsthand um, direction from them as well.
Okay, so my question is we've talked about my name is Anifa. Yes. We've talked about sensationalizing persons with disabilities and their conditions. So I'm trying to find a balance, right, for not just me and everyone that is here, right? So for one, I had my first degree at the age of 19. So, and I had various newspaper carry this story, and it had, despite cerebral palsy, she was still able to graduate at the age of 19. So whether we like it or not, it's an inspiring story that inspires people. I had different mothers of children with cerebral palsy reach out to me to ask, "Oh, how did you do it?" So it can sound like an inspirational story. It is good to hear this kind of stories. But then how do we bridge the gap? The gap is the problem the language that is used, or even carrying out these stories in the first place. So where does the problem lie? Thank you.
So you have disability. That is already known. Okay, this woman has had this challenge, what has had this baby. She has what's the condition again? Cerebral palsy.
Yes.
Yes. What she has had this baby. You leave the despite. When you say despite, then that is when you make it sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You make it heroic. That you bring heroism into it. And some might even begin to think about you being she could have been a victim of cerebral palsy. So just report the story. Report the story. Leave the despite.
Mm. Thank you very much. Thank you to our panelists. Please a round of applause. Our organizers and everyone here today. We've run out of time. Spot on. I think we use time so well. I have some people that still want us to talk, but we need to leave this room not just informed, but motivated to act. The media doesn't just reflect society. We always refer to the media as a fourth estate. It shapes it, you know, and as such, together we can shape a more inclusive country, a more inclusive Nigeria, and a more inclusive environment for everybody else. Thank you so much, everybody. You've been a fantastic audience. Well done. Well done.